But in India, extreme weather has wrought havoc all over the world, hasn't it, recently? Let's take a look at Canada for you. Just last week, we saw scenes like this in Calgary in Canada. Flash floods forced at least 10,000 people to evacuate their homes. Power went out in schools. They were closed, and the military was brought in to help there. In Europe, well, early this month, Central Europe suffered the worst floods in a decade. Germany, Hungary and the Czech Republic all affected. Water's reaching the top of the ground floor, doors and windows in many places. Absolutely remarkable scenes. And then on here to the east, Bangkok and Thailand have experienced terrible floods in recent years. Hundreds killed in the rising waters. The rebuilding process is ongoing. Making policies to suit these types of disasters is far from straightforward. I want to delve into the two main approaches. The first says that global warming is causing these weather patterns and that the policies need to be geared towards climate change. The other, well, it quite frankly blames government's investment in improper infrastructure deficit, which makes us vulnerable when bad weather does strike. Both of them, I guess you could say, are man-made problems that need policy decisions, but they are very, very different. To discuss all of this, we're joined by the host of CNN's Going Green series, Philippe Cousteau, who has been a regular guest on this show. Philippe, a very basic question. Are all of these weather disasters, as it were, connected in any way?
Well, it's hard to prove, you know, the vagaries and the complexity of climate science. It's hard to prove that all of these are connected, but there's no question that over the last decade or so, our climate has been warming, more than a decade, in fact, and that we are experiencing, you know, increased extreme weather events. So certainly in my experience in traveling the world, these are certainly connected, but the specific science behind it is still somewhat debated.
Yeah, and there is no real scientific consensus on global warming as you and I speak tonight. And it is a difficult one, isn't it? Because I've done this story a number of times, and we tend to lump things together. And I don't think it helps either those who are prophets, as it were, of this terrible sort of global warming that we may see going forward, or the naysayers who say there is nothing called climate change at present. Where do you stand?
Well, it's a difficult issue. As you pointed out earlier, today President Obama made a pretty impressive speech about a new push to address these issues. The United States has been somewhat of a laggard in terms of its leadership around these issues of climate change. But the good news is that hopefully we will, in particular, the president announced issues and investment around reducing emissions of existing power plants. Is very politically contentious here. So he took some risks this morning, and I do hope that that is an acknowledgement of a willingness on the part of the administration and certainly America to step up and take its leadership role. But it's going to take the collaboration of the global community to deal with this problem.
Meantime, with regard to the Indian story, of course, the head of the Department of Environmental Studies at the University of Delhi said, and I quote, "The current devastation and human misery is largely man-made. Rampant, unauthorized, mindless building activities on the river floodplains in the Himalaya area, deforestation and other activities that do destabilize these spots." Not talking to the issue there of global warming.
Well, it's a series of different events. I mean, take, for example, all the smog and the fires burning in Indonesia that have inundated Singapore and parts of Malaysia with horrible air quality over the last few days. That, again, from deforestation, he's absolutely correct. The irresponsible building, the deforestation that continues to happen in Latin America, those are problems that are absolutely human-caused and are exacerbating climate change. We're not doing ourselves any favors when we continue to degrade the environment. And I think what's important is to continue to put a human face on these issues. Because, Becky, you of course agree that the environment and the atmosphere gets warmer. It's estimated 1 to 200 million people, more people, will go hungry. We think about here in the United States, the #1 reason for hospitalization of children 3 to 7 years old is asthma. So when we talk about climate change, when we talk about these fossil fuels, when we talk about the deforestation, all these other man-made impacts, these are all making the global community poorer. These are contributing to suffering And we need to stand up and recognize that this is a human issue and this affects all of us.